With the release of the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War arc, I came across this common phenomenon in anime: war arcs in anime. When you sit down and think about it, a lot of your favorite anime have war arcs. There's just something peak about the strongest characters in a series lining up and showing everything they can do. Like, you take the MC and you slap them onto an arena with some of the most interesting and developed characters with crazy shit going on, and it's always an impactful part of the story. I mean, think about some of the most recognizable war arcs in anime. You have Marineford, which was well received, the Fourth Shinobi War, which wasn't really well received, and the Thousand Year Blood War, which had mixed reviews. Regardless of what your opinion on those arcs were, they were polarizing arcs because when you get a war arc in anime, you're gonna have an impactful arc. A lot of shit is gonna happen. When it comes to war arcs, the best parts are the battles, plot progression, and character development / power-ups. Obviously, we gotta start with the fights, because what's a great battle shonen without great fights? Like, look at the Fourth Shinobi War. The Fourth Shinobi War was the last arc in Naruto, so the fights that took place in the war arc needed to conclude certain character arcs and show everything the characters could do. So early on, we were blessed with amazing shit, like Madara's first appearance. Honestly, I wouldn't even call it a battle because like it was really more of a massacre, but that was still peak, and it kicked off things for more serious battles. And when I mean serious battles, I'm talking about battles like Kakashi vs Obito. That was just peak, from the flashbacks to the choreography to the music choice and everything in between. Or we could talk about Naruto vs Sasuke the second time. What can I say about that fight that already hasn't been said? The boxing, backstory, and build-up, like, that's just how you conclude a war arc. Real quick, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I just dropped a TikTok too, so like if you like TikToks or anything like that, you know what I'm saying, you can follow that as well. Also, I made a new Discord, so if you like any of my content, you're gonna love the Discord because it's just a bunch of homies talking anime, sports. Honestly, anything you enjoy, it's gonna be on the Discord, so you know what I'm saying, so check that out as well. Switching up the anime real quick and talking about Marineford, everywhere you looked was a peak fight somewhere. Marco versus Kizaru, Whitebeard versus Akainu, or you also have like Whitebeard versus everyone. Like, Marineford was really special because a lot of the important characters were in one arena at the same exact time with different goals, so we would get like weird, unique matchups that normally would never happen. Jozu versus Crocodile, that was such a random ass encounter, but it was still cool to see because, you know what I'm saying, we had Jozu, who has, obviously we know Jozu's fighting for Whitebeard and stuff, and we have Crocodile, who's just doing, honestly, Crocodile's just doing whatever the fuck he wants to do at that time. Marineford, unlike the Fourth Shinobi War, was placed in the middle of the series. Because it was the halfway point of the series, instead of like the end where we get to see the full extent of certain characters, like how in the Fourth Shinobi War, we got to see the full Kage and all that stuff, we only got to see glimpses of the strong characters that were introduced early on. Whitebeard, Mihawk, the Three Admirals, Sengoku, and Blackbeard were all characters that were hyped earlier on in the story. Because this is only the middle point of the series, we can't see everything that Whitebeard has to offer. We can't see everything Mihawk has to offer. So we only get glimpses, and we get to kind of see the difference between Mihawk and, say, a Luffy, or Mihawk and a Crocodile, for instance. Like, when we finally got to see them show their devil fruits in hockey, it was amazing to see and really got the readers hyped to see what the New World had in store for the Straw Hats. But honestly, like, as great as fighting in general is in battle shonen, and obviously it's a big part of it, what really makes the war arcs, in my opinion, peak fiction is the plot progression. You just have to understand that the landscape of the series always changes forever. Ace and Whitebeard die. Ichigo discovers that his inner hollow was actually, you know, his true Zanpakuto. The previous Kage finally show what they can do, and the masked man is revealed to be Obito. Like, war arcs always have a lot going on because they're usually the culmination of so many plot points being set up throughout the series. Because it's the culmination of all the plot points, it really, you know, ends up hitting heavy. Like, the previous Kage showing their battle prowess only hit hard to us because of the hype they received, from all the yellow flash hype to the fact that Hashirama's cells was basically being like a demigod, like with Danzo and whatnot. Hollow Ichigo being revealed to be Zangetsu was only amazing to us because we were there with Hollow Ichigo when he consistently had to save Ichigo and, you know, lecture him on his powers. We even had that scene where Hollow Ichigo was like, bro, I am Zangetsu, which is funny enough, you know what I'm saying? Because the nigga was basically telling you, like, I am Zangetsu, and no one believed him. So the series in general is always going to change. Like, it's never going to be the same. After the Fourth Shinobi World War, the whole ninja world was united and we had peace achieved. Until, you know, Boruto came and kind of fucked it up, but never mind that. Marineford caused the new gen pirate era, and it opened up the two leading candidates of the Pirate King, who are Luffy and Blackbeard. We don't really know who's the next Pirate King going to be exactly. Obviously, it's probably going to be Luffy, but between the most likely candidates, Luffy and Blackbeard have been at the top of the list since Marineford. Then you have the Thousand Year Blood War arc, which basically a good amount of the old captains were killed, and that's set up for new captains for the Gote 13. With war arcs, the series will never be the same, and you just have to admire that about war arcs. But arguably, in my opinion, the most important and best part of a war arc is the character development. We can break this down, right? Like, you can use a character like Obito. Obviously, I know Obito's not the most loved nigga. He's very polarizing, actually, which I think fits for the Fourth Shinobi World War arc, because the arc is polarizing as well. But like, look at this nigga Obito. So he goes from a fake Madara clone who's like, oh yeah, I'm Madara, whatever, caused the Fourth Shinobi War. Then he becomes a shell of himself and becomes the Ten Tails Jinchuriki. Then he becomes an ally to the Shinobi Alliance and gives his life to Naruto and basically tells him like, Naruto, you better become Hokage. So we just see like Obito in general, like his character is just completely different from what it was before. Or we have a character like Sasuke. So Sasuke, after learning the truth about Itachi from Obito, he decides he wants to destroy the Leaf Village because they made Itachi suffer so much, which is, that makes sense. But then he gets the truth straight from Itachi himself, and he gets an opportunity to speak to the previous Kage. And I think this is probably one of my favorite parts of like the whole Sasuke development stuff, where basically Sasuke has a whole conversation with the previous Kage, and he basically gets an understanding of how Konoha got from the creation of it to where its current state is at right now, from the first to fourth Hokage. We basically get a whole synopsis of everything that happened. And after learning that truth and seeing Itachi's love for Konoha, he decides to make a revolution and become the next Hokage. But obviously he's defeated by Naruto, and he puts his trust in Naruto's vision and decides to work with Naruto. Like, Sasuke changes so much during the war arc just off of interacting with the vast characters during that arc. And like, we just kind of see like, whether you agree with his thinking or not, it's not really the point. The point is that in the war arc, just off of Sasuke interacting with these characters, we get to see different sides of Sasuke and how he evolves and his thinking evolves. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna probably drop a video, or it might be a re-upload or something, but it's a video about how Marineford really changed his thinking, because a lot of people don't understand. It's really crazy to me because people think that Luffy didn't change or doesn't change as a character, and it kind of fries me low-key. But despite what most people think, Marineford changed Luffy drastically. Luffy learned that he couldn't handle everything and needed to rely on others. So his way of leading up until Marineford was always, let me do it. And even when he got help, it was never like him asking for it. And the help was never, oh, let me fight alongside you. It was always the person just giving him the ability to fight for himself. So for instance, Yhwach. Yhwach is a character that was basically fighting alongside Luffy in Marineford. But Luffy never said, Yhwach, help me fight Akainu, or help me fight Mihawk. It was always like, ayo, Yhwach, like, inject me with these adrenaline boosts so I can do all of the fighting by myself. And as strong as Luffy is and was at the time, like, that's just not a good leader, and that's not how you become the Pirate King. Like we see with Roger, and we see with all these characters that were closer to being the Pirate King than Luffy. Like, you need a good crew. I mean, that was honestly the whole point of like Luffy saying, I'm gonna make a crew better than yours, Shanks. Because to be the Pirate King, you need to have a complete team that can offset your weaknesses. So that was how he was prior to. But now in Wano, we see with Luffy, he trusts the fighting of King and Queen to Zoro and Sanji, for instance. He trusts the safety of Onigashima and leading the masses to Momo. Like, there's even a cool scene in Udon Prison where he gets covered in poison on purpose to kind of snap the prisoners out of like their, kind of, not out of their trance, but kind of to smack some sense into them. And he's telling them like, you need to fight for your own freedom and fight alongside me. So that's a kind of crazy 180 that Luffy gets from being in Marineford otherwise, you know what I'm saying? Because we see Luffy, he basically like takes the poison, he's like, all right, Odin was a cool guy, but he died a couple years ago and you guys have been stagnant since. Like, I need you to handle this. After he does his cool future sight scene or whatever, he points at one of the guards and he's like, take care of him. The prisoners all run to jump the guy, and it's like, damn, like Luffy's leadership qualities have really increased over the years. And honestly, I think a lot of that came from Marineford, in my opinion. So when you're looking at like war arcs, even amongst other crazy battle shonen arcs, they always stand out. So I just kind of wanted to give my perspective on war arcs and everything about them. So let me know what you guys think about that down below, but I'm out, so peace.